Three, two, one. What does that actually mean? It means I am about to have a post support group, so post group live reflection. So just a free flow of consciousness, just literally describing how it felt for me to facilitate, to be, to exist in this thriving group today. The most important part for me as a researcher was to document the progression of like what happened and how it happened. Like, how did the conversation start? How did it, where did it go to and why? Evaluating the tangents and celebrating it rather than, pathologizing it means, oh my God, they were so disorganized, they were off topic, there was no agenda, I didn't know socially what I was supposed to do, supposed to say. So it started off with people coming in one at a time with their camera and mic issues, and just to make sure that everybody is engaged while that was happening, we started saying, hey, where are you located? Where are you now? Where are you now? Oh, and then it all started from there. So where are you? Kazakhstan. Somebody else? Oh, I know about that. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. I said, oh, I know about that. I have a friend there. So then we all take a moment to look at the person who's in Greece right now and the overall comments. Oh my God, is it almost midnight for you? Feeling deeply for people who are here for one reason, to thrive together. When we started talking about that I'm here in San Diego on a beautiful, Saturday morning, fresh out of the shower, and I'm telling people as a, humorous thing, just enjoy watching my hair air dry. Let that be your entertainment if we can't even get all our cameras all lined up. So we started talking about why we dress up, why do we wake up, why are we resilient people, why are we doing what we do. We do because, as I shared, I dress for the woman who greets me in the mirror every morning. And we started talking about internalized oppression. What do you celebrate for yourself? And it turns out that a lot of people, many of the participants are also autistic adults when they joined our group. So they were saying that pretty much this whole self-care thing, it was, knocked out of them because of, being disadvantaged by family dynamics, neurodivergence, whatever makes you be the different person, the oddball, the one that stands out, the one who can't be compliant, the one who can't organize their behavior. And it led to a discussion about asexuality. And I asked a friend who was on the call, I said, you know, what is your reaction when I first told you I'm asexual? And the response was, I can't understand it because I don't have that life. And that made everything so much more relatable. We were able to talk about sexuality. Then we laughed about it. You gotta go because your cat is biting you right now. Are you saying you're a cat person? No, I like dogs. I like everything. I like all the animals. Oh, no, 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 no. In a perfect world, you must declare dog person or cat person. So we decided that they were pet fluid, pet non-conforming. Um, and in that spirit, I brought the screen sharing of the 3-minute video that is celebrating 1 year in COVID-19 that we have been thriving in isolation. Autistic people and other people who have previously been called maladaptive are thriving. But the problem is that they encounter in society some kind of shame, like you can't talk about it because the uncle is dying, so why are you having a Zoom party? Anything that made the world more accessible, like shelter in place, masks, all of this became a bonus for functioning. And when that bonus for functioning, you start being called out for it as the crazy one, the different one, the non-compliant one. My happiness is not a behavior problem. So after I shared the 3-minute video that we made about this joke on society, it's a 3-minute video and I'm going to paste it in the description so you can watch and enjoy. It was the isolation video that I made with my friend Nikki in the UK. And we did it in the first week of shelter in place because we wanted to show how autistics are thriving in a pandemic, and now what are you going to do about it? So after that clip, we shared our reactions and we talked about, the medical challenges that people have that contributes to isolation, because if you have chronic pain, if you have a mental health disorder, if you have something going on in your life, but you can't talk about it right now because people are dying from a pandemic, for Christ's sake, and that is the reaction that you get, then what is your support network? And I love telling people that I do antisocial science research. Social science research is psychology. You know, the research scientifically about society. I love it. Society and the abnormality of the mind. Society and altered states. Society and othering. The indigenous knowledge systems we have that are not being adequately and authentically portrayed, and putting everything underneath. Oh, I have chronic pain, but my grandfather is in the ICU, so now we have to, even though I'm having a miscarriage right now and I'm wearing 4 pads, I have to go to the ICU because the family expects it. All these expectations, being able to find yourself in a pandemic where you find your autonomy, your self-sufficiency, that in itself is thriving. So we're not making fun of people who are not functioning. We're just saying, who are you calling maladaptive now? And we talked about upbringing, difficulty with empathy, society's idea of what empathy is and isn't. Are you psychotic? Are you autistic? Are you a sociopath that you can't feel? But at the same time, if there was a truck that ran over my ex-husband and that was the end of my pain or my problems, I wouldn't feel any pain or suffering of his body at the moment of impact. And that's not sociopathology. That's quite literally me having a grip of my anger, exactly, being able to get homicidal about it in my mind and still stay regulated. So we started talking about, mania and psychosis, and one of the participants shared and relived an entire mania trip, and from beginning to end, like looking at the arms and seeing different things and imagining the people from the Bronx breaking into the house. How many weeks? How many people did you have to talk about it until you realized that you were in an altered state? Even in the hospital. So we started talking about having hallucinations. Everybody has experienced hallucinations in their life. People in the emergency room, we give them, drugs and stuff, and they get a buzz, even 10-15 minutes. Some people who are not familiar with altered substances for altered states keep thinking that, oh, you just feel weird and different in the hospital. No. Okay? There are chemicals that are making this happen, and we, on an MRI, can see the brain lighting up with a hallucination. So we know those are legit. They're happening to you, but the fact that it's not culturally appropriate to talk about it is because there is a stigma on thriving. The stigma is you must be grieving, you must be miserable, you must be suffering right now. Suffering is the only way to live. Well, in my opinion, suffering is no longer an option. Therefore, thriving is my way of being, and nobody can take that away from me. That's my existential right. I'm allowed to thrive in my mind, in my life, in my bank account, in my garden, in my kitchen scraps that are growing into new food. I'm allowed to. So we relived somebody's first trip in their psychotic break, and we talked about all of the things that they experienced, like being obsessed with alliterations, like the word fear, F-E-A-R, means to be fearful or afraid, while the word F-A-I-R means fairness. Is it fair to feel fair? And then they thought about F-A-R-E, the fare, the amount that you pay for a bus. So getting lost in this world? Is that a autistic stim party? What we started talking about after that was suicidality, because autistic people have a completely different way that we see ideation, that we see mental illness, we see hallucinations. We're just we identified in the group, we're just people who really see this touchy, sticky very differently. We're just living in a state, and if we could all live in that state together in a safe space, the group became a wonderful place for us to share. And there was a lot of sharing about different things, and just to test if it's in a safe space that I share about my last psychotic break, will people judge me? No. And as the result of the conversations, I shared 2 Facebook groups that I strongly encourage people to join. If you look for Sober Sitters on Facebook, you'll see my Facebook group for Sober Sitters. It's titled Differently Stoned, Sober Sitters, Mental Health Cannabis Safety. So what if somebody's, has a medical cannabis license, and, they purchase a medical card, and they are unfamiliar? Who are you going to talk to about weed? Your father? The relationships you've severed with people? Now you really need to know, and your best friends need to better come in. What if your best friends didn't have these experiences? They never smoked a joint. They never had the social experience of, lighting each other's cigarettes and then having a one-night stand. Like, if you're isolated by nature and you are self-sufficient, you really, really miss out on these social opportunities to learn about things that you need for the next start of your life. And if you're a medical cannabis user, you better be in a Sober Sitters group. Now, we're not necessarily saying that if you come in and say, hey, look, I need to just make sure those helicopters are not real. If you're in my zip code, please check the news. Have the, World Trade Center come down, or is that just my mind? Having a safe place to ask this, because you could be in the ER on painkillers coming in here. You could be on morphine and need a sober sitter to destigmatize anything that's different or an altered state. And you may or may not be autistic, right? So differently stoned means it's not necessarily sober on the other side of the screen. Digital communication, digital support means if you feel an onset of something and you can't even be verbal about it or type about it, put an emoji, timestamp your experience in the group. Somebody in the group will put a like. Somebody will put an emoji. Someone will put a care reaction. Someone will put a Giphy, and it might be me. It's knowing that other people have a pulse and it's beating, and right now we're clocking in together as sober sitters. I might be stoned myself too. That's why the title is Differently Stoned. So the sober sitters are not necessarily sober in the literal sense, but different, coming from the neurodiversity movement, differently abled, differently stoned. Okay? And then, of course, we have Differently Stoned, Sober Sitters, Mental Health, Cannabis Safety. I might just take the cannabis out of the title, because we just want, mental health and substance safety or chemical safety, something like that. And I'm taking suggestions. And the second resource that came up in the group was pretty much, the end of this was just, it was like asking for it. So I have another Facebook group, and you're welcome to join, Autlucinating, AUTLUCINATING. Autistic and hallucinating. What is a hallucination? Are you just autistic? Is this a hallucination? Are you allowed to have those ideas? Are you allowed to look outside and see the strobe of the sun's rays? Or does that mean that you're having a hallucination? If you look up at the fluorescent light and it bothers you because you could see the exact battery power that's left in each one, how much luminescence, and you're seeing the variations in these rays, come on in and ask us those questions. So the support group, quite literally, we have a comment from Lee who says that cannabis saved my life after pharma side effects. You won't be surprised to know that when you go to the Doogri Institute website, doogri.org, One of the services we offer is cannabis consulting, because if you're in a legal state and you need to liberate yourself from what you have determined is your medical plan, this is my planning. So I do this a lot with non-speaking young adults, autistic adults who want to take charge of their own medication regimen, and the request for the session is we use, accessible communication. We use typing directly into chat, and we could do, through letterboards and iPads. And your doctor, you're saying, did a big study on it. Please put the information to the study and deposit it after, when you have a moment to come back and reply to yourself. Why I'm bringing this up is because it's a new world. It's 2021. For the next decade, everybody's going to have these experiences, but autistic people, or people who are disadvantaged by family or culture or ability or race or sexuality, we want to have our autonomy recognized, accepted, and not have to fight, not have to apologize that you're thriving, not have to suppress that you're enjoying yourself because someone's having a funeral right now. And that's not lack of empathy. That's quite literally the fiercest muscle you have, which is self-determination. And that's why we thrive. So on the Autistic and Hallucinating, it's an autism psychosis support group. And the culture in the group is just to discuss it as a social group, like as a group of society. What if we, the abnormals, are actually the norm? If we don't talk to each other about it and normalize it, there will not be any progress, and the fight will be individual. So please come in with an open mind that suicidality is something that is daily for autistic people. All the studies, research show that we're at an 86% disadvantage to suicidality, and the research study that I'm in the process of doing as part of my book project is because I talked about a self-report inventory, like how to be able to check off, all of the time, none of the time, some of the time. Autistics, we don't respond to those types of surveys. We have an experience that is different, and it needs to be clinically recognized so that we can separate ourselves from pathology. Even if you're not autistic, how can you normalize your preferred state? It's not altered. We need to take out the alteration from the word mental health. It's not an alteration. We need to normalize it, and at the same time, maladaptive is what they call autistic people. But how have we adapted and innovated in a pandemic that we've come up to this great day that we have today? And what a beautiful thing. One of our members of the group said, I identify myself as a usual person with unusual experiences. So with that said, I'm going to post the isolation video that I made 1 year ago, the first week of shelter in place, with my dear friend Nikki in Cambridge, UK. I'm in California in lockdown. She's in the UK in lockdown with an also autistic husband, and their life is a party, and they don't apologize. They, as a couple, often they're philanthropists. They go and do charity gigs where the husband and wife, they throw pies in each other's faces to raise money for kids who are sick and, cancer and all of these things that they want to support those endeavors. They go out and throw pies into each other's faces, and then the more pies that they can tolerate or react to, the crowds go crazy and they throw more money in the ring. And that's how fundraising can be done. That is innovation. That is next generation. And they're not millennial age. Okay, they're older than me. So coming back to this group, I asked in closing if everyone would consider watching the isolation video that we made in the first week of the pandemic 1 year later, to celebrate how far you've come in this 1 year. Instead of reflecting, oh, now it's my 1 year clock. Can you believe it's been 1 year since I lost my uncle, right? At the same time, why can't it be a self-reflection? Look what happened in 1 year. I unlocked gainful and meaningful opportunities for myself. Whether I'm becoming a millionaire or I have a job is not relevant. Redefining what thriving means, giving yourself permission to thrive. And in the end, we talked about how this group is in alignment with our organizational mission. So I asked people to go to the Dugari Institute website, because if you just take your time and scroll through it, get lost in a rabbit hole, enjoy the videos, look at the pages, the menus drop down very long. It's hard to access right now. We're working on the priority of this coming week is to make the Dugari Institute website fully accessible. We've already worked on the Thriving page. So dugari.org/thriving. You can go there and see our past events, upcoming events, playlists of my reflections, links to my TikTok videos that are 15 seconds long. You'll be able to follow me on every platform, and of course register for the next event. And as usual, part of our karma clause with our organization is that, you know, we provide for the greater good because we want to help others help others. So in that spirit, we will continue. Your plus, bring a friend. Your +1 is always free. All right. So let's grow this family. After this call, you will see all of my links in the description. And by tomorrow, I hope to have a blog post that I will share that transcribes this live video. Lee, thank you for joining me today and for your feedback. It really, really helps put into perspective what people want, what they don't need, boundaries, and growing up. And you know, grow up with me. I wanna be holding your hand at that 11th hour. That's where I want to be. Digital communication is how we thrive. So let's get digital. Talk digits to me. Everybody.